Hello there, how you doing? My name is Tom and welcome to Wi-Fi Sheep. Okay, welcome to the channel, and first of all just want to say a huge welcome to all the new subscribers who have joined us here on Wi-Fi Sheep. Thanks so much for your continued support. Lots of comments, lots of things I want to get through. Now, you may have noticed that I haven't been uploading a lot recently. That's because we're in June, July coming up now. We're in the middle of the summer. Wi-Fi Sheep isn't my main source of income. In fact, I don't make a lot from it at all at the moment. So I'm actually quite busy having to do other projects, other things, obviously to earn a living. So that's why there's been a bit of a delay in getting new content up to you. Okay, so I've got my iPad here so I can relay the information and the news as it's coming in live. The C64, the full version of the classic, I won't say console because it's a computer system, the C64 Micro has been announced. These are the people that bought us the C64 Mini system that many of you will know and I've talked about on this channel, which I obviously own one. But we've always been waiting for the full version. Now, many people backed it when it was I think it was a Kickstarter Indiegogo campaign. Unfortunately, they didn't release the full version. Instead, they went and did the Mini, which was relatively successful, though the firmware wasn't particularly great when it first launched. I was one who was a bit sceptical and rather disappointed, but they did patch it, they have updated it, and it did improve it greatly. So we have always been waiting for the full version, and here it is. So I'm just going to go through the details here on the Retro Games website. So I've got it here on iPad. Again, this is news that's literally just dropped in the past 45-50 minutes. So it's real time as I'm relaying this to you. The trailer, which they dropped on YouTube, was very interesting. It started with a kind of apocalyptic scene and then sort of showing the C64 revival. Basically, that for me it talked about the idea of modern times and unsettling, dangerous, unknown times as we are sort of politically with all the things going on in the world. It kind of harked to me the idea of trying to sort of twig nostalgia for those who maybe had these computers originally in the 80s as kids. Obviously, when you're a child, most of us, it was a safer, simpler time than it is now being an adult having to deal with the harsh realities of the world. So it's kind of playing on that nostalgia tug to try and get you to buy one of these to kind of relive that moment. That's what I read into the trailer. Not a bad trailer, quite well produced. Okay, yeah, so here is the full specs. So the news we've been waiting for. World's best-selling home computer reborn, and it's going to be on sale from the 5th of December 2019 in retail. So obviously that's getting ready for the obvious Christmas market. It did actually get the price point. If I can find the price point. Here we are. So this is in pound sterling for here in the UK and also in euros for our colleagues on the continent. I don't have a US dollar price because obviously I imagine the US release, if it's anything like the Mini, it's going to be a little bit delayed and behind. But we're looking at 109.99 British pound sterling or 119.99 euros. So it's just over £100, which not bad. Not bad, I suppose. I guess if it come in at 90, that would have been amazing, but it's not far off, so I'm not going to grumble at that. Another feature they're talking about here is, as well as all the use of switching between 50 and 60 hertz modes, so obviously for NTSC and PAL compatibility, also CRT filters, various screen modes, aspect ratio modes, that sort of thing. It's also mentioning here, and this is a surprise, the release of VIC-20 basic mode. So as well as running in Commodore 64 mode, the machine is capable of emulating a VIC-20. The VIC-20 was the predecessor to the C64. It pretty much used the same form factor. It was the same case. The machine looked identical, almost. So also talk about the pre-installed games. Nothing there that I don't think isn't on the Mini already. USB flash support. They're also talking about improving the controller. I think if I got the controller, yeah, just here. So this is the one that came with the Mini, which was bloody awful. I don't use it because it's awful, and a lot of people have broke the stick straight off it. But basically, they're talking about a new controller using micro switches, which might be of a slightly better build quality. So yeah, it's a full-size system, working keyboard. a wired USB micro switch classic joystick, USB charge cable, USB AC adapter. Now that'll be the first time that they've actually included a power supply in the UK release, because I mean I have to use a Raspberry Pi supply to get mine going, so that's interesting. HDMI cable, full compatibility in modern TVs, save game function, selectable 50-60 Hertz refresh rate and pixel filters, pixel perfect emulation. You can also upload your own game files, games and firmware revisions via USB flash. Well, we know that from the firmware in the Mini. It did talk somewhere else, if I can find it, and I can't find it now, but it did talk about the ability of switchable boot. So you can switch the machine to boot into the menu mode that we had with the Mini when it boots straight into menu for basically scrolling and selecting games. It can also boot straight into C64 Basic or VIC-20 Basic as the original machines would have done. So that's very interesting. Of course, this has a full working keyboard. Now, the actual mechanics of what's going on underneath, it'll be probably the same board or very similar board to what was in the Mini. So effectively, it's an all-winner, I think it's a H2 quad-core processor, 32-bit quad-core chip. So it's an ARM processor. Those sort of processors used in a lot of the cheap Raspberry Pi clone boards. It's the same chipset, or very similar chipset to what was used in the NES and SNES Classic Editions from Nintendo. So it's not a true 6502. It'll be a Linux shell running underneath, and it will have the emulators, probably a version of the Vice emulator for C64 that running on top. So that's converting 32-bit Linux and creating a virtual 6502 8-bit environment to allow a lot of this software, ROMs, disk images, that sort of thing to actually run. So obviously none of the original hardware is unlikely to work, so we're not looking at any sort of cartridge support or any peripherals like the disk drives, tape decks. That's unlikely to work with this. Also, there's things like the SID chip is going to be emulated, so it's literally just going to be a quad-core ARM processor, and it's all going to be in software running as an emulator. So software-wise, basically for playing games, and looking the part, looking like an original C64, this is going to work really well. Game development, well, it's going to come with BASIC, so you can program it. Like the Mini, you can program it. The issue is that the C64 only runs at about 1.5 megahertz, so it's actually very, very slow, even for the 6502 architecture. Which means writing games in BASIC, if you follow my channel and know the struggles we've had trying to write stuff for BBC Micros in BASIC, these things run at 2 megahertz, and it's still a pain. I would like to have seen a sort of slightly modern version, maybe an emulator that could run the 6502 code, run BASIC, Commodore BASIC, but allow you to speed up or have more access to more RAM in the system, so you can sort of create games in the ecosystem of the C64, but without having so much of the restriction. So obviously keep the same graphics mode, the palettes, the sprite engine, that kind of thing, but allow you to kind of code maybe a little bit more sloppy just in BASIC, and you still get good performance as if you'd written it all in assembly language. So we'll see where that goes. Am I going to get one? I don't know. I might, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm probably going to wait for Christmas. It's not something I'm going to run out and buy. I'll drop the links to everything below so you can have a look for yourself. Tell me what you think, and maybe we'll do a follow-up video on this if I decide to get one or any more news drops. Okay, stay tuned right here to the channel for news on the Raspberry Pi 4. That's news that dropped yesterday. And also the updates on what we're doing here, Wi-Fi Sheep, going through the summer and into the autumn. As ever, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for your company, and I'll see you real soon right here on the channel. Until next time, bye for now.